It's just called the game. It's just simply called the game. Ohio State, Michigan, two teams that are in the top 5. Two teams that are tied on top of the Big Ten East. There is no game this week during this rivalry week. And rivalries in college football are part of the reason why the sport is so special. But this rivalry week in general does not carry more significance, both at a regional level and on a national level, more than Ohio State and Michigan. This is the last iteration where the rivalry game will still matter to these two teams. But after this year, it is truly possible with the expanded college football playoff coming up and also with the removal of divisions in the Big Ten, which I agree that divisions should have been removed in the first place. I think that's a really good move by conferences. However, instead of most of the time these two teams playing each other once, we're looking at these two teams playing against each other 2, maybe even 3 times, depending on how the college football playoff picture shakes out in the future. But for now, everything is on the line in this game. Right now, this is what's at stake exactly. Big Ten East Division. Winner of this game goes to Indianapolis. They'll take on Iowa. And regardless of who wins this game, by the way, whoever wins this game will be a favorite, by the way, by quite a bit, actually, to beat Iowa in that Big Ten championship game out in Indianapolis. A win would also secure most likely a college football playoff spot. That's also in the works as well. More importantly, Michigan needs this win more than Ohio State does, because Ohio State at least has a stronger strength of schedule. However, if Michigan lose this game, let's say Michigan will need a lot more help than Ohio State would if they were in the same exact position. So if there's one spot for the Big Ten, it's going to go to the winner of this game. Just letting that known right about now. This game could go in either direction. You see what the current line is. You see what the current any given Saturday power rating model does. Right now has Michigan minus 3.5. And the model has Michigan minus 3. Now, I want to make that clear. The reason why Michigan is favored is because it is in Ann Arbor. If it was in a neutral site or at Ohio State would be favored. I think it's that close between these two teams. These are two very good teams. Two teams that I specifically had ranked in the top 5. So we'll break it down in terms of how Ohio State wins this game, and then how Michigan finds the way to win this game. We'll start with the underdogs. We're going to start with Ohio State. What does Ohio State need to do? Ohio State, first and foremost, they got to get that running game going early, and they got to get it going fast. TreVeyon Henderson is going to play a massive role in this particular game. TreVeyon Henderson, you're going to see his stats, or you might see his stats up like on the ESPN app. He has about 800 yards, 10 touchdowns. It's not the most eye-popping stats, but you got to remember, this guy's been hurt, but now he's healthy, and he's running hard, and I mean extremely hard right now. 4 of the last 5 games that he's played in, and specifically the 4 games that he's came back and played in, 3 of them, he's ran for over 100 yards. And the only reason why he did in that Michigan State game is because they were blowing the doors off Michigan State, and he didn't play nearly as much in the second half, or carry the ball nearly as much in that second half as well. He's a home run hitter. And TreVeyon Henderson getting those runs early is going to help take some pressure off Kyle McCord, or what some of the Ohio State fans like to call him, Honda McCord. Right. Speaking of Kyle McCord's going to have to make some plays because this Michigan defense is fast and this Michigan defense plays extremely hard. It's one of the best defenses in the entire country. He's going to have to make some plays. He's going to have to grow up. And Kyle McCord, to his credit, even though he hasn't looked necessarily, he doesn't have the same like eye-popping plays necessarily like we saw like a Justin Fields or a CJ Stroud, for example, as well. But he's taking care of the ball. He's only thrown 4 interceptions. He does not very often put it in harm's way. He may not be as amazing as the first 2 quarterbacks, but he does keep the ball out of harm's way, and that's going to be important. It's going to come down to who wins the turnover battle as well. And I think having a quarterback like Kyle McCord, where, hey, he might not make those eye-popping plays, but he takes care of the ball, I think that's extremely important for Ohio State. And then also, the defense needs to apply the hard lessons that they've learned from last year. They cannot let this tandem that Michigan has in its backfield from being able to run all over them. Because that was how Michigan pulled away in that second half. Run after run after run. And eventually, it wore down that front 7. And they were able to hit home runs late in the game that put Ohio State away painfully. So it's going to come down to who can be more physical at the line of scrimmage at the end of the day. Likewise, for Michigan to win, 2 things that we haven't already spoken about. Can this defense likewise hold TreVeyon Henderson down? And not only that, can they contain Marvin Harrison? You are not shutting down Marvin Harrison Jr. That, in my opinion, from a talent standpoint, is the best wide receiver in college football. That man is special. He is going to possibly be a perennial Pro Bowl player at the NFL. He's going to be a top 10 pick when he declares, because you already know he's going to declare. He's got that NFL blood in him. He's got that dog in him. How does Marvin Harrison Jr. get contained here? As well as just the receiving group in general. Because prior to last week, Michigan hasn't even seen a receiver group as talented as Maryland's. And they had some struggles. There was some issues with Maryland's passing attack and Ohio State's wideouts. And don't forget CJ Strover too. Strover, he's like a Farmer Gronk type of guy, man. That Ohio State wideout room is going to be an even bigger problem because it's even more talented than that Maryland receiving group. Okay. And then for other intensive purposes, how does JJ McCarthy, how does he handle the pressure of this big time game without Jim Harbaugh on the sideline? I have a couple of friends that are Michigan fans, and what they told me is that when Harbaugh isn't on the sideline, JJ McCarthy doesn't look as composed than as if Harbaugh was actually on that sideline. Now, JJ McCarthy, on the surface, he also similarly takes care of the ball okay. He also only has thrown 4 interceptions, but the last couple of weeks, JJ McCarthy has struggled. He has really struggled. The Penn State game, not necessarily his fault. That was a dictation of the game plan. That was the interim coach just taking the most sure path of winning, and that's just to run it like the pass was considered a trick play. Because Penn State's defensive front, they were getting home. And that's another thing, too, now that I think about it. How does Michigan's line hold up against JTT, as well as some of these other pass rushers that Ohio State has? Because they're fast, and they're physical, too. Penn State's can get home, Ohio State's can get home, too. How does Michigan handle that? Do they bring in 6-7 guys, project JJ McCarthy, and really work that play action. And then simultaneously, how does JJ McCarthy in general respond? Game plan involved him more, and again struggled. 12 for 23, 141 yards, no touchdowns to his name. Also threw an interception as well. Can you get away with that against Ohio State? Honestly, kind of doubt it. I really, truly doubt it. So, JJ McCarthy, if that running game's gonna, even if the running game does get going, I think JJ McCarthy is gonna have to make some plays. I think Kyle McCord also has to make some plays as well. So I said, so who do I think is gonna win this game? The model has Michigan winning, but Ohio State covering. I'm going to go a step further. I think this is a game where if Jim Harbaugh was on the sideline, if I knew that was going to be the case, I would feel different, but he's not. And in a close game like that, like the game that I think we're going to have, I think that type of stuff matters because Ryan Day should be the better coach. And because Ryan Day should be the better coach than whoever the interim coach is, I know it's the offensive coordinator. His name escapes me. His name does escape me right now. But at the end of the day, I truly believe Ryan Day would be the better coach. And because of that, I'm going a step further. Not only do I think Ohio State covers, like the model has it, I think Ohio State wins outright. And we'll be seeing them in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship against Iowa.